My friends, 'tis the season that comes around once every few years, and of course I'm talking about when they release a crappy new Terminator movie. Yes, there's a new Terminator movie out, Terminator Dark Fate, and is this movie any good? Well, I think we all know the answer to that. I saw the last one in theaters before the last one. Oh, I don't even know the name of it. It was so forgivable, but it was such a terrible movie. And now we have another one, and of course we know what to expect just from the trailers. But I looked up to see what people were actually saying about the movie, and what did I come across? Let's take a look. This is an article from Variety, and if you don't know what Variety is, it's a trade paper for the entertainment industry. And their headline is, Box Office, Terminator Dark Fate stumbling to $28 million opening when it was projected to make $40 million, so it's coming in well short. And for the budget, they said even a $40 million would be terrible. But I'm actually shocked that many people went to see this thing. But it shows you how many people are out there that are zombies and that will give their money over to anything. And they just don't care. If it has a familiar name, they don't care. But it's interesting. In the article, it says, reviews have been mostly positive. Gee, I wonder why. And we get to some comments about that down here that I'm surprised they haven't deleted. And this is a good one here. Well, people are saying, like, this movie sucked, plot hole after plot hole. A movie that only a Scientologist would pay to see. I don't know about that. We got some spoilers here. But let's see here. I'm trying to find some of the good comments. Here you go. Mostly positive reviews? Yeah, keep telling lies and maybe someone would believe them. The movie is pure trash and most people gave negative reviews. Only woke critics praised that garbage. If you don't praise this movie, you don't respect woman. So, of course, if you look at what the American media is saying, very predictively, they've been praising the movie. So, what do you have to do in 2019 clown world, if you want the truth from the media? If you want something unbiased from the media, what do you have to do? Well, of course, you have to go and look up the media in India. So we gotta see what the Hindus are saying to get the truth in 2019 clown world. This is from the Hindustan Times out of India. And they just say it plain as day. Terminator Dark Fate movie review. Dear Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's time to say hasta la vista to this franchise. I guess in India, to keep your job in the media, you don't have to praise things like this in their society. They can at least be honest about things like this in India. So I had to go and get the unbiased word from the Indians. But I want you guys to know, which is something that Arnold doesn't want you to know. What Arnold doesn't want you to know, he actually released a Terminator years ago. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger does not want you to know this, and he certainly does not want you to Google this and have you look it up. But Arnold Schwarzenegger did release a Terminator in real life. The Terminator is Esteban Nunez. And you're saying, I've never heard that name, Esteban Nunez. And this is how Arnold wants to keep it. He doesn't want you to know that name or know the story behind it. When Arnold was governor in his last day in office, very interestingly, he commuted the prison sentence of a guy that murdered someone else with a knife. Pretty hardcore stuff. And he did this, of course, on his last day in office, and that's when a lot of these things happen. Prison sentences getting commuted, people getting pardoned, because they know it's not going to be a big thing in the news. But that's how corruption works. The son of former Assembly Speaker Fabian Nunez, who's a Democrat, by the way, whose conviction in the death of a college student was commuted by Arnold Schwarzenegger, will be a free man. This is an old article. So This guy murders another guy with a knife. He literally terminated someone, and because his dad is Fabian Nunez, there he is with Arnold. Look at how lovey-dovey these guys are in the picture. This guy is a Latino Democrat, and it's funny, I had a relative say recently, who's not a Republican and doesn't particularly like most Republicans, but he said, being a Democrat is where both stupidity and immorality meet. That's Democrats for you. And Fabian Nunez certainly brings that point together very much. But there they are, all lovey-dovey. And the communication of the sentence outraged the Santos family, who called it politically motivated and sued to have it overturned. But a state appeals court upheld the clemency in 2015. News that Nunez would soon be out of prison only heaped more anguish on the still grieving parents. They said, "We are serving a life sentence and our son's murderer is not, because we have to live with this the rest of our lives with our son's loss," said Fred Santos, who called the case the difference between the haves and the have-nots. Kathy Santos said that their son would have soon been turning 30 years old, and it was hard to see his friends getting married and having families. I mean, I can only imagine. And let's see some other articles about this. But Arnold does not want you to Google this. Schwarzenegger said at the time that he acted because he thought the 16-year sentence that he was sentenced to was excessive, but he also acknowledged that he was helping a friend. So that shows you that that's the reality of how this works out. And here, when asked if his ruling had anything to do with his relationship with Nunez, Schwarzenegger was later quoted as saying, "Well, hello! I mean, of course you help out a friend." So that sums up it for you, the real Terminator that Arnold Schwarzenegger does not want you to know about. And that's how Arnold is. He's a very amoral guy. His whole life, there's good things about Arnold, definitely, but he's a very amoral guy. If he's doing good things for the world, it's not because he cares about doing good things or being an inspiration. It's just because he's doing what's best for him. And he's totally amoral, and he has a history of this. His philosophy is associate with people that can help you out. And I remember when he became governor, I was new to California and I was very happy. He was kind of like the original Donald Trump in many ways, but completely didn't pan out. It's because there was a governor, Gray Davis, who was a very unpopular governor. Even though had just been reelected, everyone was very unhappy with this guy. So they had a special recall election, and that's when Schwarzenegger jumped in. He smelled blood. The current governor, was very unpopular, and that's how he got elected. But as soon as Arnold got elected, he very soon morphed into being exactly like Gray Davis. And it's kind of funny, too, if you look at all the things he did and what a disappointment he was as governor. And to this day, Arnold's a big crusader for climate change, when, interesting enough, he was named out of any private citizen in California, meaning not corporations or companies or anything, but of any private individual. When Arnold was governor, he was the #1 polluter out of anyone in the state of California. He would commute back and forth from his home in LA to Sacramento on a private jet. So he was polluting more than anyone. And I remember one time he was talking about maybe possibly introducing some new bills to limit people being able to drive, and people pointed that out. But what about you? You're polluting, flying back and forth in your private jet. One flight on that pollutes more than someone driving in a year. And then he didn't really have a good answer for it. He basically just said, well, I had a good reason for polluting, to see my family. Which, it's not true, but other people are saying, well, what if I have to drive and pollute to see my family? But that's Arnold for you. He's not a man of principle, and it's hard, too, because I grew up watching his movies. I grew up liking him very much, but it's hard to see the reality of someone that you look up to. That's why it's very important to believe in ideals as opposed to just putting all your faith into one person. So now you know the story of the real Terminator, and you don't need to see that Hollywood garbage of the new Terminator movie.